I mean, how long have you been watching Comic Explained?
Oh, I've been watching it for I want to say a couple of weeks. I'd come across it before when I was looking up. I think it was Darkest Night.
No, it's Bat Metal.
No.
Dark Knight's
So
Metal.
I
I sent
yes,
you
Dark
videos on
Dark
it.
Knight's Metal, but I was actually looking up Darkest Night, and I stumbled across it, and I had seen the videos that you sent me, and when you sent me was my first introduction to it, but I didn't start actually watching it until I wanted to know something about Batman or Green Lantern Darkest Nights or DC Darkest Night or whatever it's called.
We left someone out of the strongest superheroes.
Who's that?
Scarlet Witch.
Yes.
She wiped out 98% of the mutant population just by saying a
during
word.
the House of M. Yeah.
Well,
Just by
what
saying a
about
word.
Thor's sister
Thor's sister.
as a villain?
Oh, Hela?
Hella, man, she
Oh, yeah.
is a fucking.
No, I actually just watched the comic book explained and a couple other ones on what happened after Thor Ragnarok when they transferred Asgard to a different place and the Collector got it and all the stuff Thor not being worthy and his girlfriend, whatever her name was, getting his hammer.
She died, though,
Well, yeah, she contracted cancer and all that, but
from using the hammer.
let's see, he didn't, or the comic book that he was touching down on didn't mention that. So all that was said is that she had gotten cancer. But you know what I like about Comics Explained is kind of like it's similar to what I like about Because Science is when you watch Comics
Rob's
Explained, and I like how he says like and subscribe and make sure to ring that bell so you don't ever miss out on my sexy voice.
Oh, yeah.
And it
Oh, no.
cracks me up.
man-
It's a good YouTube channel. I've actually after
seen
watching
some of
it,
his stuff.
I'm
after
saving
watching
up-
it, I'm sitting there and I'm like, we should have done something more like this.
No offense to him. No offense to. But he does. He has a very attractive male
He
voice.
does. Like I said, he
I've
kind
seen
of jumps
stuff.
around
He's
really
the one
rapidly
who
a little
did,
bit.
he did do a review on powerful villains. That's why I was making mention of Thor's
Yeah,
sister.
I watched his thing on the top 10 most powerful heroes too.
Yeah.
Which is part of what
Which
brought
is
this
the-
about. But I also watched top 10, or I think it's called top 25 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's where they just list off, and that's where Rob is where I got Sentry from. But after watching the list 25 or 25 list or top 25 or whatever the channel's called, and I forget what it's called, but Sentry came out on the top of their list, and I had heard Rob talk about it. You know who else we didn't touch down on was in the House of M. What was that mutant's name? The powerful one, the one that was able to dematerialize stuff.
Are you
I want
talking
to say
about
it's
Vulcan?
Alabaster. Was his first or last name? He wasn't an X-Men, but when they herded all of them into the Xavier Manor, he was the one who broke them out. He was an Omega level, and he just has these obscure powers.
I know the Vulcan was in there.
Oh, what the fuck was his name? Yeah, he removed the. So you remember in the House of M where they chipped all of them, right?
Yeah.
He's the one that removed the chips.
Yeah.
He was able to reach into them by dematerializing, and then he would dematerialize the chip and remove it.
Yeah.
So I can't remember his name, but he is one of the most powerful Marvel anything, and he's not technically a hero.
Then there's also the Vulcan, which is, I believe he is a brother to the Summers.
You know, that's something that bothered me in the X-Men First Class was
Yeah.
Havoc.
Havoc,
That
yeah.
bothered me really bad. When Havoc was part of the First Class, but Havoc is Scott Summers' little brother.
Mm-hmm.
And who were their parents were part of the Starjammers.
Yes,
believe so.
Yeah.
Well, what is it? What's the new DC movie coming out? Where I want to say it's like the Uncanny Heroes or something, but it's got the Frankenstein-looking motherfucker in it.
Oh, you're the Destruction Squad or
Destruction
something
Squad.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Cyborg's in it.
Yeah.
They have the one dude. Yeah, no. You know what I want to watch is they're putting out a Teen Titans one too.
Like a live action though this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it's a TV
Okay.
show. Same people.
Oh yeah,
Same
that's
people who are putting out
right.
like the Destruction Squad or whatever
It's already
called.
out. It's already out.
Yeah.
You can watch it. You
And
gotta like
Nightwing.
subscribe to it. To that
Yeah,
particular.
yeah. So you have to get like YouTube whatever to be able to watch
either
it.
that or
YouTube Prime, I think.
You can watch it on a strictly straight up DC type pay
Right.
to watch site.
Well, what excited me about it is I'd seen ads for it before,
I've seen a couple
and I
of
was
the
like,
episodes.
whatever.
It looked
And then I
pretty
watch
decent.
it, and it's Nightwing, which Dick Grayson is a very close on me. Like, I love Batman,
I was
but
right.
what?
Vulcan, he's a supervillain actually.
Okay.
And he is the third brother of the Summers clan. And he basically trumps both of them.
Doesn't surprise me.
He is the strongest of them.
Scott Summers was significantly overrated.
All he
But-
had was laser eyes.
I mean, they
Now they're saying that he opens. What is it? That he opens
Some kind of
kinda
portal or
dimensional-
dimension.
his eyes are
A gateway.
a gateway to an energy dimension.
Eyes are the gateway to the soul. Well, his soul must
Fuck
suck.
it.
No, it blows.
Fair enough. Fair
But-
enough.
I'm
Scott
glad they-
Summers is father to one of the most powerful mutants out there.
Hands down,
If Cable didn't
X-Man
if
with Cable.
if Cable didn't come down with the what is it, the
The-
virus he
yeah.
contracted,
The
he-
pathogen that spread around mutants in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
if
And,
he hadn't come down with it, he
Although
would.
I do have to agree with Rob from Comics Explained or Comic Explained or whatever. It was really weird the first time I ever saw Scott Summers and Cable working side by side, where Scott's the dad
Mm.
and
Well-
Cable is way older than him because he's from the future.
Technically, he is.
Which isn't that where Deadpool got his, because in the original, Deadpool's ability to teleport was based off of his belt.
Yeah.
Didn't he get that from Cable? I know he did in the movie, but I can't remember. They implied in Wolverine Origins that he
Yeah.
got the ability to teleport from the one guy.
Yeah. But I believe it was from Cable.
Yeah, they.
But
You have to
technically,
admit, with the Deadpool movies, they followed comic books a lot
Yeah.
better
Pretty
than a lot of
damn
super.
good.
Really good.
and that was
actually.
Ryan Reynolds' fault.
Right. Well, that's fault. You make it sound bad. They followed the comic books way better.
Because Ryan Reynolds is a giant Deadpool
Well,
fan,
and
and he's
Stan
like,
Lee didn't have a fucking thing to do with it. Look, I love Stan Lee.
it's not.
Don't misunderstand. I do love. I'm sitting here out of frame. My bad. I do love Stan Lee, but god damn, after the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man's, man, he was a fucking sellout.
Yeah, he sold out pretty hard.
Yeah, he did. Same with the X-Men movies. What was it? Just so that you could get a 30-second scene? Fuck, man. I lost a lot of respect over that.
Sad thing is he's thought to
But
be
then
the
you-
father of comics.
No, he wasn't.
Him and
Action Comics issue #1 came out years before.
Yeah. But as a
And
popularity
even-
scale,
Even Superman wasn't technically the first comic book hero, although he was the first hero in a comic book.
yeah.
I was actually watching a thing on it, on the breakdown of the cover to the first Action Comics, and before Superman was compiled into a comic book, they were comic strips.
Yeah.
So Superman
Newspapers.
was the first comic book hero
Yeah.
ever. I mean, Action Comics #1. What blows my mind is that Batman wasn't even Detective Comics #1. And he was, so what they were doing at the time was they were using things like Detective Comics and
the trial runs for
And what was it?
different
Something
characters.
DC mashup or hero or something
Something like
mashup. And what they were doing was they were just pitching ideas. And somebody in the group would come up with an idea. They'd write a quick comic book or part of a comic book about him. And Batman sold so well that they started putting him out. And Batman, for the first few years, grossed more than Superman had been grossing.
Yeah.
Although the first Action Comics sells for way more than the first Detective Comics that Batman was in. You also have to remember Detective Comics covered like Dick Tracy and things like that. What also blew my mind is, have you guys seen the TV show? I believe it's canceled now, but it's called Lucifer.
Yeah.
No, it's still
I've
going.
seen it. It's still going.
No, it's canceled.
No, it's not.
Well, they might have up-to-date series on Hulu for it, but
They
that's
just
about it.
had season 4 created.
Yeah, it was the last season.
Who picked it
Lucifer
up?
got
I guess
canceled.
is the.
Um,
I've never really watched
well,
it.
unless some
Never
other
got
group
into
picked it up and ran with it. But Lucifer is, I think he's a Marvel
Could be.
or DC. I can't remember, but he's a comic book hero.
Netflix picked up the 4th season.
There we go. So yeah, it got canceled after 3rd season. My roommate and I were watching it on
They
a
got
regular
picked up
basis.
for the 4th. by
That's fair
Netflix.
enough. I'll have to let her know so that we can start watching it in because I enjoyed Lucifer. But yeah,
Fourth
Lucifer
season's on.
Morningstar is a comic book character.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know. See,
Yeah, I didn't either. Until watching Raw. Comics
The
Explained.
problem is we've been
I mean,
so
I really-
saturated.
I
even
keep
as-
mentioning him, and I really got to just tip my hat to him. If you guys have any questions about comic books, like definitely.
Oh no, yeah. That's
yeah, no,
actually
he's
where
fucking
I got
amazing.
A lot of mine.
Yeah, same. Like honestly, I just don't have time, man. Like I'm busy.
Well, the economy's been
Fuck.
brainwashed so much with the standards: DC, Marvel,
Dark Horse.
Dark Horse, things like that.
right.
And
And
those oddities, not a lot
although-
of people know about them.
you did mention that the guy who created Spawn owns him,
Todd Browne.
but he was a Dark Horse Comics
yeah,
character.
and
Just like
he worked
Conan
with
the Barbarian is Marvel.
Yeah.
Hands down, my favorite Marvel comic book character is Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
But his original stories,
Wasn't that
were
Hanna-Barbera comics or something like that?
Conan was written before televisions were invented.
Yeah, but it was still a corporation. I don't want to say corporation.
Conan
but-
was written by a single man
Yeah.
during the 18th century.
the fathers of popular comic books are Stan Lee and Jack Kirby.
Conan, yeah. Bob Kane changed a lot, and then who was the one who wrote about Gwen Stacy's death? Because he's
Stan Lee.
was it Stan Lee that did Gwen Stacy's death? Because he put it into the comic book code.
Well, he changed the comic book code. It
So,
wasn't necessarily an end as to
In
change.
in original Batman, he used to kill people.
Mhm.
So did Superman. They were not somebody to fuck with. There's an iconic scene where Batman interrogates a guy, and when the guy refuses, Batman hangs him from his plane until he stops kicking. And then they cut back all of a sudden because of the comic book code, which was to make comic books more children friendly.
Yeah.
But the night that Gwen Stacy died, when Gwen Stacy died,
Jerry
in Spider-Man,
Conway.
Jerry Conway, that guy changed comic books for the better, in my opinion. They got darker after that, and it was good because certain characters are supposed to be dark.
Mhm.
Superman's a real light character.
Well, the way the night Gwen Stacy died, when it was written, the reason it changed comic books so much is it showed that a superhero could fail.
Right. Which Batman had
Which-
been doing, but not to the extent.
Which made the 90s era comic books a lot darker.
Right.
And then
Which was nice.
coming into the 2000s, they lightened it up a bit. And then when we got into the 10s and going into the 20s, they've gotten a lot darker again. Where we
it's
come
the
into
culture that
Well,
we have.
Batman's Metal and Darkest Night
Yeah,
were big. They wouldn't have flown before
Yeah.
the night Gwen Stacy died.
a lot of the new 52 is really dark.
A lot,
There-
yeah.
Going into Doomsday Clock, that's getting into I believe the comedian shot Lex Luthor.
That. Well, during like
No, it
New
was
50,
it was
during
Lex
New
Luthor's-
52 and Rebirth, they had the Lex Luthor from the alternate dimension who
Yeah.
was a good guy. So I mean, like,
But
they've
we're going
so
back
much
to
stuff.
a darker sense of comic books now.
Well, that's not a bad thing necessarily.
And actually,
I'm waiting for the movies to reflect some of that dark.
one of my favorite moments in now comic books uh, was a comic book where it was Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent, what's her name, Selena Kyle, and Lois Lane. They all went out for a date night.
Oh yeah,
and
that's around the time that Bruce married
Yeah, Selena Kyle.
Selena Kyle.
It was actually before that, but
This is the one with. Oh, I know.
So-
I know what story you're telling. Oh, yeah,
So,
no, this one cracked me up.
Batman and Superman decided to switch clothes.
Yeah.
Not costumes, just clothes. So Superman took off his glasses, Bruce Wayne, Clark Kent took off his glasses, Bruce Wayne put them on. They switched clothes. Fucking, they're just being dumbasses at a carnival,
Right.
and it's just funny.
They're just having fun, and you don't
And
get to see people, especially like Bruce,
Yeah.
having fun.
Selena Kyle and Lois Lane both switch clothes as well. And it's just funny to watch it happen. Because at first, Bruce Wayne's like, no.
I think
No.
my favorite
No.
one that you told me about was when Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle went to tell Talia al Ghul about their marriage.
Oh, no. So, it's something about... Selena Kyle went to search out Talia al Ghul and wanted to clear things up and go, hey, look, I'm marrying your baby daddy.
Right, which anybody who knows anything about DC Comics knows that wasn't a consensual choice.
No, they had to. But
Well, what I mean by
basically-
consensual choice is Bruce Wayne was raped.
Oh, yeah.
Talia al Ghul drugged him
And
and got herself pregnant
basically,
for the sake of making the new what is it called, Demon Head, or
He-
what is Ra's al Ghul's title? Demon Head, I believe is what it is.
he's the leader of the Dark Hand.
Well, yeah. Well, he's the leader of the League of Shadows,
Yeah.
according to the Christian Bale, or League of Assassins, according to everybody else.
Yeah.
Because the Christian Bale movies, fuck them. But yeah, so he got drugged. And what they were trying to do is, so Ra's al Ghul is called like the Demon Head,
Yeah.
and he chose Bruce to take up his mantle, but Bruce Wayne wouldn't kill.
Which pissed off Ra's al Ghul.
Which pissed off Ra's al Ghul, so he wanted to have a successor because eventually the Lazarus Pits were going to stop working, which they did. In Son of Batman, they show it in the animation where Deathstroke attacks and he kills Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul, and then makes sure to
However you want to pronounce
keep his body from going into the Lazarus Pit and burn it to nothing but bones left as he's dragging his way.
But then
and-
you also have the incomplete Lazarus Pit,
Right.
which
Well,
Joker
what they
uses.
did was basically he killed Ra's al Ghul in a way that he couldn't be brought back to life even if he was thrown into the Lazarus Pit.
Yeah.
And what Ra's al Ghul had been trying to do was set up this whole like, who's going to be my successor? Well, his grandson was supposed to be his successor, which was Batman's genetics forcefully taken by Talia.
Yeah.
I love it because like I wasn't setting this up to actually record a video. I just figured I'd set it up to record while we were talking. But you're both immediately snapped into like recording session.
Yeah, pretty much.
But so when you told me the story, because you were the first one I ever heard it from, was when they went to tell, and who was it? I think it was Damian Wayne that wanted to sneak in.
You did.
and is it Jonathan Kent is the son?
Yep.
Basically told him that his dad could hear, because Superman took off, and he's like, "You boys stay out here," and Damian Wayne's like, "I'm gonna go in," and he's like, "I wouldn't do that." Like, my dad may be across the planet, but he'll know. And it just fucking cracked me up. But honestly, I'm not surprised that they did the whole thing with Selena Kyle, because for years they've been doing this cat and mouse, or should I say cat and bat,
Cat and bat.
where this sexual tension existed between the two of them.
But
You know who else I really liked? So, when I started on comic books, I really liked Spider-Man. I really liked Batman. I didn't really care that much for Superman, because he was perfect, and that bothered me, because perfection is nothing. Like, nobody is really perfect. But I really liked Deadpool, and I really liked what was his fucking name? Oh my god, there's a Marvel, it might be DC, but there's a character that no matter how good they try to do, they always seem to do
Fuck him up.
bad shit. And I can't remember their fucking name.
Booster Gold.
Oh my god, Booster Gold.
He
Okay.
wants to do good, but he just keeps fucking it
Oh,
up.
Booster Gold's just a fuck off, dude. Okay, so
He's actually not. They actually
Booster
made
Gold
it,
is
he
a
tries.
spoof character, or at least originally was, and now he's much better. They've given him, but
They-
basically Booster Gold is from the future where, like, everybody has these superpowers,
Yeah.
and he travels back in time so that he can be a hero.
He doesn't.
But when he gets back in time, he then gets to compete with people like Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman, the original 3, the original 7.
Yeah.
Ooh, who was the original 7, Steven? Who was the original 7?
That's not what I was thinking, but I was thinking of a different character that's stupid strong in the DC universe.
Do you know who the original 7 was? Okay, so we all know who the original 3 were. Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Who was the original 7?
Flash, Hawkgirl, Martian Manhunter. I'm missing one.
I'm trying. I'm drawing a blank on the DC side of things.
Let's see. So we have, obviously the first 3 are Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman. You have Aquaman,
Aquaman.
That's right.
Martian Manhunter,
That's what I was missing.
Flash,
Aquaman.
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern.
Oh
was
yeah, I
gonna
guess
say.
so.
Boom goes the dynamite. But then again, I am way more DC than you are.
I'm a mix. Really.
You're more of a mix than I am.
Yeah.
See. So what's perfect about this is we have Marvel, DC
In the mix.
in between.
I'll-
I think this is the first time that you and I have found something that you were aligned with one side or the other. Usually I'm the one walking the fence. I prefer DC. I think that they tell darker stories. They're
Definitely.
better stories.
They can be.
The stuff makes more sense
I'm
too.
old school Marvel.
They do a
though.
little bit better, in my opinion, of explaining things, whereas Marvel kind of does this whole, like, it is because it is.
I like the old
And that's how it
animes,
is.
and I love the
Well,
old comics.
do you
I'm
remember
not
when,
a fan of the big movies? I
Listen,
like them.
you
They're
called
okay.
him Freak, I called him Minion. Grandma's old cat used to sit on your bed and watch X-Men with you. Oh, have you seen, I just looked up at your hat. Have you seen, so they've been doing this Batman versus
They
on
wanna do
Netflix?
a
Ninja
Batman
Ninja
versus
Turtles.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
It's supposed to actually be airing.
Yeah,
I
I'm
loved it.
waiting
So
for that.
I can't remember who I was on the phone with, but I was watching Batman versus Mutants and Monsters, and basically Mr. Freeze, at the commission of Penguin, took Clayface, Bane, Killer Croc, and Chemo, and was mixing their DNA together. And he basically made a Godzilla out of Killer Croc. And so, as it goes on, Killer Croc's going through and destroying shit. Kimbo shows up. So Batman, in his fucking jet, with Red Robin, who was Damian Wayne, he goes in and he shoots all these missiles at it. They don't do anything. So Batman's like, well, I think it's time for us to be a little less subtle. And Damian Wayne looks at him and goes, ballistic missiles are subtle to you? And he fucking goes up, straight up, turns off the afterburners, turns them off, so he's falling, just straight down, and last second hits them at full blast and just blasts Kimmo in the face. But in that series, like, Flash is in it, Nightwing, Damian Wayne, Bruce Wayne. See, I was a big fan of Nightwing. He's right up there with Batman for me.
Clayface was part of the Bat family for a little while.
Did I ever tell you, Nightwing, Dick Grayson, is the same height, weight, and eye color as me? And age. Weird, right?
But did you know Clayface was part of the Bat family for a little while?
A lot of people have been part of a lot of things for a little while. Have you read, what is it? Not Ultimate Spider-Man. What's the one where Dr. Octopus is
Peter Parker.
Peter Parker, yeah. Is that Ultimate? Superior. Oh my god, I can't believe it took me so long to think of that. Yeah, Superior Spider-Man is where Dr. Octopus is Peter Parker.
Did you know Peter Parker is a lot stronger than he thinks that he knows?
Well, of course, he's fucking Spider-Man.
So on the case of Spider-Man and Dr. Octopus, so Doc Ock took over Peter Parker's body.
Yeah.
And Doc Ock states, how am I still alive facing Spider-Man? And the question goes, and he goes, The
question is that when the question was a man or a woman?
No, this is just him in his own mind. He goes, how am I still alive against Spider-Man? The abilities and the strength of this man, he doesn't use it.
Right.
He goes, if Spider-Man was to go full out against me, I would die.
Right. Well, it's like when Doc Ock was doing the whole Spider-Man, he was able to access Peter's own mind, and that alone, Parker should have had a doctorate by then. He was gypped out of his doctorate.
Mm-hmm. But he's like, with the abilities, the smarts, and the strength of this man, I should be dead.
He is Ock's superior.
Yeah, he's like,
Octavius is just more willing to use it.
He's like, I should be dead.
It's like Superman.
Yeah.
Superman is the same way. Superman has been holding back.
Spider-Man doesn't show his strength.
Doomsday was the first time Superman actually cut loose.
Yeah.
And a lot of people died. It's not because he could, it's because he had to.
He also
Have you ever read The Life and Death of Superman? One of the first people that Doomsday got a hold of was fucking Blue Beetle.
Mm-hmm. He also cut loose against what's his name?
Lobo.
Not only
he's gone hardcore with Lobo.
Not only just Lobo, but
who was the one?
General Zod.
General Zod.
He let go.
There was one more.
Because Zod had come to Earth and
who runs Apocalypse?
Oh, Darkseid.
Darkseid. He's cut loose with Darkseid.
You know who's coming back, right?
Darkseid?
Darkseid's dad.
Oh god.
Because the wall has been broken. And guess who was trapped behind the wall?
Yeah.
Darkseid's dad. And he was a terror.
Have you watched the Justice League movie?
Which one?
The
new one?
Yeah, like the Justice League.
Yeah, I watched it on my plane ride back from Tennessee.
So I gotta tell you, the Batman movies were garbage. Just overall, the Superman movies were garbage. Aquaman and Wonder Woman were good. They really were. Like, I
Yeah.
enjoyed Aquaman and Wonder Woman. Batman vs Superman was also garbage, and mostly because of Ben Affleck, I've been afraid to watch the Justice League movie.
Okay, yes, it's every role but Ben Affleck's is good. Like in Justice League,
Superman was
in
garbage though.
in the Justice League, like Jim, like with everyone around him.
Oh my god!
Like,
no! So I got to tell you this.
If you'd cut out Ben Affleck and it was just Gal Gadot and Jim Cargill, that would have been a good movie.
So I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were telling me a story about their girlfriend, and their girlfriend was like, "We should go see Infinity War, or not Infinity War, Endgame," and he was like, "Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could." She's like, "Everybody dies in it, even Superman." And I was like, he tells me this, and I was immediately like,
You got backhanded a little
Wait.
bit.
"Wait, what? What? The fuck did you just say? What kind of stupid just come the fuck up out your mouth?"
But if you would have cut out Ben Affleck,
Yeah, probably would have been a decent movie.
and actually, Cargill isn't a bad Superman. He really isn't.
He's not really that great either, though.
No, but he's not horrible. But because of Ben Affleck, it's kind of subpar. But
Fair
Justice League, with the comedic relief of Jason Momoa and the kid that played Flash, it was good. I enjoyed it.